What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video.
Robin Wintersmith glanced at the crowd of fans, then put on his helmet and hit the throttle on his motorcycle. In 1979, this stuntman's name was on everyone's lips. It was because at an air show in Elstree, England, he performed a daring stunt, jumping with a Suzuki RM250cc over 31 cars. That's a 58-meter obstacle. But he fell just 1 meter short of breaking Eddie Kidd's record, who jumped over 14 double-decker buses. So he decided to try again to become the absolute record holder. The previous jump had problems. The Suzuki landed harshly on the grass at over 113 kilometers per hour. Still, the stuntman got away with bruises. This time, he decided to use a landing ramp, a special structure to reduce the impact force. Instead of adding a few extra meters to Eddie Kidd's record, Robin planned to jump 65 meters, 7 meters more.
Damn.
As an obstacle, he used 30 Rolls Royces. 10,000 fans held their breath. Robin hit the throttle. He quickly gained speed, and his Suzuki took off. Unexpectedly, the motorcycle slightly twisted. As Robin had calculated everything to the millimeter, this mistake could ruin everything. In midair, he quickly corrected his course, but this caused the front wheel to rise too high, and the rear wheel hit the edge of the ramp. In this shocking footage, you can see the stuntman crashing into and smashing the roof of the 28th Rolls-Royce, just falling short of his goal. Robin was rushed to the hospital, yet his life couldn't be saved.
Where's the video?
And this wasn't the only time a stunt show went wrong right before thousands of spectators. In 2012, viewers at an air show in Ohio eagerly awaited the wing walkers. These stunt performers can pull off a viral trick from Hollywood movies. During it, an airplane, usually a biplane, performs a maneuver called the pendulum, a full loop. The stunt performer is secured by a special structure. However, there's a more challenging task. They have to crawl across the wings, always staying on top, like the woman in this clip. Her name was Jane Wicker. She was to perform this trick at the air show. In one of her interviews, she said she felt safer on an airplane wing than when driving to the airport, because then she was in control, not depending on the pilot's skills. Little did she know these words would come back to haunt her. The show began. Her biplane rose into the air and made a loop while Jane quickly tried to move to the other side of the wing. She managed it. Still, the biplane pilot had problems. He lost control almost immediately after the loop, and the plane plummeted at high speed. I can't show you the entire video because it's too disturbing. But the footage shows the biplane crashing almost into the center of the arena, surrounded by spectator stands, and exploding. The commentator nervously asked the children to close their eyes. Meanwhile, the adults watched in horror as the burning wreckage of the plane made it clear there was no chance for the pilot and Jane Wicker to survive. It's not only risky to perform stunts, but also to make others.
Such a crazy stunt,
In 2019,
bro.
a famous Russian circus, Shapito, was touring the country. Most of its audience was very young children who loved the cute animal tricks. When the traveling circus performed its show in Olegnets, the children exploded with applause. Upon seeing a huge trained bear coming out and pushing a wheelbarrow like a real person, the trainer rewarded the bear with some food, and the bear playfully began to spar with him. People filmed this mini spectacle on their phones, and the children were delighted by the bear's play. But a few seconds later, the bear started attacking the trainer aggressively. This was no longer play. Only when one grandmother quickly started to take her child away did the others do the same. The danger was real.
So I'm talking about
there was no barrier
example.
between the audience and the ring.
Oh,
Though the bear
no.
was muzzled, it continued to maul the trainer with its sharp claws, until it was hit with a shocker. The audience was outraged that the circus included a wild animal act in their program without ensuring the children's safety. Furthermore, the circus faced allegations of animal mistreatment. The circus management claimed the flashes from the audience's cameras had angered the bear. Eventually, this act was removed from the show. There's no doubt that circus performers and stuntmen have risky professions. Yet there are countless videos on the internet of even ordinary construction workers caught in horrifying incidents. One day in 2022, a Toronto resident was walking downtown when he looked up and saw something that truly terrified him. The man immediately pulled out his phone and started recording. Here are those clips. In them, you can see a construction worker dangling from a crane by a rope very high above the ground. The poor worker is screaming in terror. But I can't play the audio for you because the person recording was swearing in shock. And I totally get it. I had the same reaction when I paused the video and counted which floor the man was hanging by, the 10th. If he lets go of that rope, he'll definitely fall to his death. There are actually several videos of this incident from different angles, which quickly went viral. Representatives from the Ontario Ministry of Labour saw the clips and demanded immediate explanations from the contractor, Modern Niagara. The project manager confirmed that there had indeed been an incident on the site. The worker's arm got tangled in the rope after he hit a load. It was also revealed that, thankfully, the man in the video was safely brought down and didn't suffer serious injuries. However, this video makes you think things could have ended much worse. In another clip recorded in New York in 2023, a construction crane catches fire and its arm breaks off, crashing right into a street full of people. The fire started in the crane's engine while it was lifting about 16 tons of concrete. The operator tried to extinguish the flames but had to escape as the fire quickly spread to the cab. In the end, 12 people, including 9 civilians and 3 firefighters, were injured but survived. Interestingly, a later inspection found that the crane was stable before the fire, yet there are tragic incidents that could have been avoided by simply following safety rules. One such event happened on July 14, 1999, during the construction of Miller Park in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It's now known as American Family Field. The project used a massive crawler crane, one of the largest in the world at the time, measuring 173 meters, earning it the nickname Big Blue. The crane was lifting stadium sections, each weighing 450 tons. The workers had already installed 9 of the 30 sections, but when it was time for the 10th, everything went wrong. That morning, the workers noticed strong gusts of wind. It turned out that the wind speed was reaching 45 kilometers per hour in some places. Operating the crane was dangerous. However, the management was only concerned that the project wouldn't be completed on time, which would incur penalties for each additional day. So, they didn't give their permission to stop work, especially since the massive crane was supposed to withstand such wind. Indeed, Big Blue could stand on its own, but the management didn't consider that the crane would be holding a roof section almost 2,800 square meters in size. Such a giant structure essentially acted as a sail. This was too much strain, even for Big Blue. These clips show the moment the crane started to fall. What is most intriguing is that a safety inspector made this video. The footage shows how the crane's debris destroyed already built elements of the stadium. Yet the worst part of this situation is that, as it fell, Big Blue hit another crane, inside of which there were 3 workers: Jeffrey Wisher, William DeGrave, and Jerome Starr. They fell from a height of over 60 meters and instantly passed away. As a result, 3 companies involved in the construction were fined a total of $500,000. The widows of the deceased workers received another $99,250,000 in compensation. Either way, no amount of money can replace lost lives.
I don't know about that.
Moreover, an ordinary passerby could have also been hurt in the story. So even if you don't work in a dangerous job, it doesn't mean you're safe
that's a dangerous
from trouble.
job. What you talking about,
On
bro?
July 22nd, 2021, residents of Zhengzhou, China were riding on the subway as usual. They noticed the floor getting wet. The lights began to flicker erratically, and the train stopped, but the doors wouldn't open. Meanwhile, the water kept rising. It reached above their ankles and their waists, and for some, even their necks. Hundreds of people were trapped. A video taken on one passenger's phone shows how a heavy downpour flooded the subway tunnel. Those on the platform could at least wade through the water to the stairs and climb to the surface, yet the passengers in the train cars were entirely dependent on the rescuer's speed. Here, people climbed onto the seats to delay drowning. They stood in the water for an hour, then 2. One woman, believing she was facing her final moments, dictated her bank card details to her loved ones over the phone. After her, others began doing the same, as the water kept rising, making it seem like the end was near. At some point, shorter people had nowhere to go, and those who were taller lifted them into the air pocket that remained near the ceiling. The passengers stood in the cold, dirty water for 4 hours before rescuers reached them. They managed to free about 500 people, but unfortunately, not everyone survived. 12 passengers passed away. I don't know about you, but the thought of not even being safe in public transport terrifies me. However, as someone who reads many articles about various tragedies, I can confidently say that the most dramatic accidents are somehow related to civil aviation. On July 27, 2007, several helicopters with journalists from various news outlets took to the skies over Arizona. They were covering a live police chase in Phoenix involving a car thief. Suddenly, two AS-350A Star helicopters from KNXV-TV and KTVK collided with each other. Their rotors were damaged, and the helicopters began plummeting to the ground. The news broadcast was abruptly cut off. That day, all 4 people on board both helicopters lost their lives.
This is retarded,
This looks
bro.
like a scene from an action movie. I would have never believed such a thing could happen in real life if it wasn't for the video taken by other journalists flying nearby. This tragedy is an unfortunate coincidence. Still, with some aircraft models, deadly incidents are far from random. Throughout the summer of 2002, wildfires raged across Northern California. Regular fire trucks couldn't handle such a large-scale natural disaster. Therefore, the U.S. Forest Service deployed special planes, modified for firefighting, to drop fire retardants on the affected areas. Besides water, they used special cooling foam, or gel, to slow the fire spread. One of these planes had the call sign Tanker. It was a Lockheed C-130 Hercules, crewed by pilots Steve Wass, Craig LeBaire, and flight engineer Michael Davis. On June 17th, the tanker was on its 6th mission of the day, delivering 3,000 gallons of fire retardant to the suburbs of Walker, California. A random witness decided to film the plane saving the area from the fire, not expecting his footage to make the news. In a moment, both wings detached from the fuselage, and the tanker just broke apart in the air. There could only be a fatal crash after that. All 3 crew members lost their lives. The National Transportation Safety Board discovered that in the late 70s, all aircraft of this type had their central wing support structures replaced. However, this particular tanker was too old, so it was sold as surplus property without a replacement. It was then modified for firefighting, and that's why the wings eventually failed. The crew paid with their lives for someone else's negligence. Interestingly, there's even a separate Wikipedia article with a long list of crashes involving C-130 pilots due to wing structure issues. However, after the Walker incident, the remaining Hercules planes were thoroughly inspected, and 33 were decommissioned to prevent further disasters. I initially mistook this clip for popular driving POV videos on YouTube, like Trapping in Japan. Just imagine how scared I was when the car suddenly went off the road. I immediately started Googling this news and found out that, fortunately, a few dozen meters later, the crossover miraculously caught on a concrete structure, and the driver survived. He just wanted to film the scenery and got distracted on a particularly dangerous part of California's Angeles Crest Highway. Have you ever witnessed any horrific events? Write in the comments about how you felt and, most importantly, how you acted.
Have a good one, guys.